fables and fantasy, from Aesop to Hans Christian Andersen. And now your host, Walt Disney.
Since the beginning of mankind, the fable tellers have not only given us entertainment, but a kind of wisdom, humor, and understanding that, like all true art, remains imperishable through the ages. On this program, we would like to pay tribute to some of these immortals: Aesop, Fontaine, the Brothers Grimm, and Hans Christian Andersen. The first was Aesop. He lived back about 600 BC in the ancient land of Hellas. Hellas, or Greece, as it became known, then occupied this whole area surrounding the Aegean Sea. And here on the island of Samos lived the lowly slave Aesop, whose fables about animals and people were destined to become the most widely known stories ever conceived.
"Well, Your Majesty," said the mouse, "I know you did not believe me once when I said I would return your kindness, but here is my chance." And without further delay, he set to work, nibbling with his sharp little teeth at the ropes that bound the lion. Soon the lion was able to crawl out of the hunter's snare and be free. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
As the fame of Aesop and his story spread, he was released from bondage and summoned to the court of Croesus, king of Lydia. There he matched wits with some of the great philosophers of the day and soon became a prime favorite of the king.
A great rivalry existed among the beasts of the forest over which could produce the largest litter. Some admitted only having 2, while others boasted proudly of having a dozen. At last the committee called upon the proud lioness. "And to how many cubs do you give birth?" they asked. "1," she replied sternly, "but that one is a lion. Quality is more important than quantity."
Very good, Aesop.
But it soon became obvious that Aesop was more than an ordinary court jester. For within each of his animal stories lay a store of wisdom for both king and commoner alike. In time, as King Croesus gained power over the other Greek states, Aesop was assigned the delicate task of goodwill ambassador to the various conquered capitals. For a while, Aesop was able to maintain peace through the simple eloquence of his animal tales. Unfortunately, this was not to last. On a visit to the restless city of Delphi, one of Aesop's fables proved his undoing. Which of the fables it was, we do not know. But like most of his stories, it had a decidedly profound effect. Only this time, it aroused the people of Delphi to great anger, and they turned upon Aesop, accusing him falsely of sacrilege and impiety. His eloquence and words of protest were lost in a surge of violence, and Aesop was condemned to death. But Aesop's fables did not die with him. They were remembered and cherished and passed along by word of mouth for over 300 years before they were finally set down in book form. They have been translated into every known language, and today, 2,500 years later, his words of wisdom are still with us. Aesop gave his animal characters human personalities, which have remained changeless throughout the century. For example, the fox is always crafty, sly, and cunning. The owl represents wisdom and knowledge. The pig is greedy. The lamb is innocence. The wolf is cruel. And the donkey is stubborn and stupid. The lion is the symbol of nobility and power. Some of Aesop's fables were quite simple and straight to the point. One of these is the frog and the ox.
One day, 2 little frogs were hopping in the meadow when they saw an ox. They were startled at the size of the huge beast, and they hurried home to tell their father.
We have just seen a huge monster with sharp horns and a long tail.
Was he as big as me? Said the old frog.
Oh, yes, Father, much bigger.
Then the old frog puffed himself up. Bigger than I am now?
Oh, yes, Father, even bigger.
So the old frog puffed himself bigger and bigger. Bigger than this?
Yes, Father, a great deal bigger.
Then he puffed and he puffed and he puffed until he burst. Self-conceit leads to self-destruction.
One of the most popular of all Aesop's fables is The Hare and the Tortoise.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Jean de La Fontaine was an important literary figure in France during the 17th century. He wrote a great variety of books, but is best known for his fables. His quaint little animal stories contain a bit of philosophy and the Aesop tradition. In fact, a number of the old Aesop fables were retold by Fontaine in his own poetic French style. The French lion listens to the little French mouse plead for mercy. Reynard, the crafty fox, flatters the vain crow in his most eloquent French.
Madame, je ne t'ai pour moi, s'il vous plaît.
The city mouse and the country mouse is another old Aesop in the Fontaine style. Here we find the city mouse of the 17th century writing his country cousin, inviting him to the city for a feast. This book of Grimm's fairy tales contains one of the finest collections of folklore ever assembled. The Grimm brothers, Jacob and Wilhelm, started this collection in Germany more than a century ago. These tales come from many lands, and generations of children have listened eagerly to such stories as Little Red Riding Hood and her encounter with the wicked wolf, Rumpelstiltskin, the little dwarf who makes a bargain with a poor miller's daughter who was given the impossible task of spinning straw into gold. The classic tale of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The story of a beautiful princess whose life is threatened by her jealous stepmother, the queen. Snow White flees into the forest, finding refuge in the cottage of seven little dwarfs. Through her magic mirror, the queen discovers Snow White's hiding place. Then, disguised as a peasant woman, she pays Snow White a visit, tricks her into eating a poisoned apple. Snow White falls into a death-like sleep, and the seven little dwarfs mourn the loss of their beloved princess. Is The Brave Little Tailor. In this story about a tremendous... Everyone knows who Hans Christian Andersen was, and almost everyone knows that this talented Dane was a writer with great originality and imagination who, like Aesop, wrote stories containing the simple truth or moral. Some of his stories are based on his own experiences in his long struggle for success.
I was born in 1805 in the little town of Odense, Denmark, in a humble little house. The son of a shoemaker and a washerwoman. We lived in the meanest sort of poverty, but even the shadows of poverty could not dim my bright little world, for I lived in a world of fantasy created by the magic of my own wonderful imagination. Everywhere I looked, there was a story to tell. In my world, everything came to life. Candles were noble, unselfish creatures who sacrificed themselves to give light. Old shoes were worn-out travelers exchanging tales of their many long journeys. The old coat lived in shame because of his patches. And the ancient teapot dreamed of better days. With such a wealth, of inspiration, I wrote countless stories, fairy tales, poems, and plays, where I was always the main character. I created great castles where I lived in splendor, a prince or nobleman dressed in finery. But this was more than a dream. I truly believed I was destined for great success and a glorious future awaited me. And at the age of 14, with 13 riksdaler, about $5 in my pocket, I set out for the city of Copenhagen to seek fame and fortune. There, in that great city, I was carried away by the glamour and magic of the theater. Here was a chance for a glorious career.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer
But
the
I soon
slings
discovered
and
I had very little talent for acting. My long, spindly legs were much too awkward for dancing. And though I had a fairly good voice, it suddenly changed. And my efforts to become a great star on the stage ended in complete failure and frustration.
But Hans Christian Andersen's failure in the theater proved to be a blessing in disguise, for he returned to his world of fantasy and make-believe, writing fairy tales which brought him the great success of which he had always dreamed. He was honored by kings and nations and acclaimed by all his countrymen. Andersen's success story is brought out in one of his own fairy tales. His awkward beginning, his rise to greatness, is clearly paralleled in the story, The Ugly Duckling.
It was so glorious out in the country. It was summer. The cornfields were yellow and the hay had been put up in stacks. In the midst of the sunshine lay an old farm with deep canals flowing through it. And it was just as wild there as in the deepest woods. And here sat a duck upon her nest. She had to hatch her ducklings and she was getting impatient. what was this that it saw in the clear water? It beheld its own image, and lo, it was a clumsy duckling, ugly and hateful to look at. So passed the first day, and afterwards matters grew worse and worse. The poor duckling was scorned by all. He was so happy and proud. He lifted his slender neck and cried rejoicingly. I never dreamed of so much happiness when I was the ugly duckling.
Aesop, Fontaine, the Brothers Grimm, and Hans Christian Andersen. Down through the ages, the fables and stories of these talented men have been told and retold. And they'll be told and retold for years to come.